All right. I started the webinar and we are recording. People are entering the room. Welcome everyone to our long-awaited webinar with our special guest Vera Jones. She's waving hello there. My name is Olaya Landa Villard, and I am the director of the APH Connect Center. And today we are hosting a webinar that is titled Now I See, and it is by Vera Jones. I do want to let you all know that this webinar is being recorded, and the recorded will be posted and archived, and we will drop that information in the chat for you so that you can copy and paste that and be able to get to our recording. Also, please feel free to drop your questions in the chat as we will be addressing them with the instructors or with the presenters during the presentation as well as at the end of the presentation. And also, please be sure to change your "to" in the chat box to all panelists and attendees so that everyone can see your questions, your comments, or anything that you're typing in there. And so what I want to do before we get started, I'd like to find out who is joining us today. So I am launching a poll. So who is with us today? So what is your job title? Are you a teacher of students with visual impairments, an early intervention teacher, orientation and mobility specialist, a rehab, vision rehab specialist or therapist or teacher, assistive technology specialist, college faculty or state administrator, or a student in a college program, or a parent? I'll give you a second for voting. Still waiting for a few people to put in their answers, or their votes, I should say. All right, I'll give you about 10 more seconds. Okay. All right. Okay. So let's see. We have teacher, wow, we have 27% are TVIs, 18% are early intervention teachers. We've got 18% O&Ms. And then we go down, we've got students in the college program, and we have a couple, and some parents. So that's awesome to have a good cross section there of individual. And then we have, of course, 36% of others. Okay. Oh, I need to relaunch this so that we can get, where are you from? Are you from the Northeast US, Southeast US, Northwest US, Southwest, Midwest, US territory, Canada, Australia, or New Zealand, European country, or other? Well, we got a Midwest already chiming in, which is where I'm at. I'm in Illinois. Give you about 10 more seconds to get in your votes. Ohio, I see in the chat people are putting in Ohio. We've got some from the Southwest. Good. Okay. More Midwesterners. Indiana. Well, all the we got a lot of Midwest states here. People representing Midwest states. Awesome. Okay, and let's scroll down while that's going on. The next question: how did you hear about the webinar? From the website, from our emails, or university faculty, ACVREP website, friend or colleague, social media, or other. 10 more seconds, and then I'll end the polling, and we will get our final results, and then we get to move on to our special presentation of the day. Okay, good. The website is helping. Awesome. Okay, I'm going to end the polling, and we're sharing the results. So yes, we have lots of TVIs. We have the Midwest is well represented here today. And looks like our emails are getting out there and letting people know about all the wonderful things that that we are up to. Okay. So now, one of the last things that I want to let you all know about before I hand it over to Vera is I would like to let you know about, if you want to know about any upcoming community events from any organization in the field of blindness and visual impairments, be sure to check out the Connect calendar at www.aphconnectcenter.org/events. And that also will be put in the chat. Okay. So without much further ado, I'm going to hand this over to Vera. Hi, Vera.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Alaya. I want to thank Melanie and Catherine and the APH Family Connect family for allowing me the opportunity to provide some parenting perspectives. Certainly, I'm not going to call myself the expert here, but I'm still here. Let's just leave it like that. And I really do hope that I can offer some hope, some help, and some healing, as the case may be. Thank each one of you for joining in today. You are the reason why I get to put on makeup and do my hair, even though I do still wear slippers when I do these events from home. But without you, I would not have this wonderful opportunity to get dressed up from time to time. So without further ado, I would like to begin my presentation. And I do want to also tell you there will be a question and answer afterwards. We'll spend at least a half hour if you're up to it in a Q&A. And at that point, I'll bring on a special guest as well in my little studio. I did try to make it as best as possible to pretend that we could still see each other in person. And so that is why I have my little stage view going on here. Hope you like it. All right. Technology is not always my best friend. So let me get in and see if I can share my screen here. Ta-da! I made it happen. So again, thank you, Family Connect. This is a very special presentation for me because it runs really, really dear to my heart. So much of what I have become over the last few years, so much of what I do and so much of what I hope to do is to be able to empower parents of children with visual impairments, because I know a lot about that. All right, let's just put it that way. So I've called today's session, Now I See, a blind and visually impaired journey of prophecy, pain, and purpose and parenting. And it follows the path of my own journey in my latest book, Now I See. And is this a shameless self-plug for you to go and buy my book? Absolutely, that's exactly what it is. We'll talk more about that afterwards as well. But before I jump into anything, there's been a lot of changes in our world. Let's just go ahead and address the elephant in the room. COVID-19 being one of the biggest right now. This 2020 year was supposed to be a year for us to, supposed to be the year of vision, so to speak. And I think many of us, if you're anything like me, you feel more like it has been the year that you've been blindsided by a lot of fouls. It's the kind of year that makes you want to drop a bunch of F-bombs, quite honestly. I'll get to that in a moment. One of the things that I always do is I've been told that I'm very animated and on stage. So that is why I have created a cartoon of myself to be animated for you. She'll show up every once in a while. But those F-bombs that I'm talking about dropping, yeah, I know what you're thinking. And why on earth would she start her presentation this way? Not that F-bomb. I'm really Christian and I don't use that, except if you cut me off in traffic, and it really doesn't count. I just kind of explore the usage of it when that happens, okay? Just explore the usage of what you're talking about. But I'm in the car and nobody can hear me, so it's not a big deal. The F-bombs that I'm talking about that you need to drop are faith, fouls, and failure. I'd like you to drop them and replace them with faith, focus, and fortitude. Faith, focus, and fortitude are the way I have found to get rid of my fears, my fouls, and the mindset of failure. Let's explore. So if you allow me to take you back, I want to take you on a little journey with me all the way back to my very first love. And no, it wasn't little Thomas Budd in the first grade. That would come later, right? My very first love happened for me when I was 5 years old. I actually fell in love with a basketball at the age of 5. Appearing here is me at the age of 9. with my first love. I could not have possibly known then that the purpose of pursuing my passion, this love of mine, is to one day put passion back into my purpose. Basketball was not just a sport for me. Basketball became my opportunity to achieve many things in life. I was the 1988 Big East Scholar Athlete of the Year. I went on at Syracuse University to get inducted into the Hall of Fame. And I became a 2018 Letter Winner of Distinction inductee, which is the biggest award that we offer in athletics at my university. The biggest award for me, however, was the fact that back in the 80s, I had absolutely positively the worst hair and was awarded the Jerry Curl All Bad Hair Team. And I still am on the All Bad Hair Team. It never fails me. Basketball allowed me the opportunity to understand what it was about to be about a team, to play for something and others bigger than myself, as I participated on 2 Big East championship basketball teams and went on to the NCAA tournament. Basketball also allowed me an opportunity to understand how I could give back as a coach on many levels. I coached at, I heard the Midwesterners here, I coached at Indiana University. I don't know if there are any IU folks in the crowd, but I was at Indiana University. I was at the University of Dayton. There you go for Ohio. So we've got that Midwest connection happening. I also coached at Florida Atlantic. So basketball did that for me. It helped me give back. What a wonderful, wonderful thing to do. Basketball allowed me to travel to places I had never even, didn't even know about, couldn't pronounce, like Prague. I thought it was pronounced Pragu. I'm embarrassed to say that with a master's degree, but yeah, I was like, yeah, we're going to Pragu. I thought like maybe, you know, Prego and Ragu got together in the spaghetti industry. Pragu. Yep. This picture here, Camp Zama, Japan. I was very fortunate to be asked to come over to Japan and present to young children the play through the foul experience on the basketball court, basically. And this was for children whose parents had been deployed off to Afghanistan and various countries. So imagine being a child waking up, no mom or dad in the home, but they could come and have a great time at a basketball camp. And that was one of the most rewarding experiences I have ever had. That was for our Boys and Girls Club for military families over there. Well, a lot of people get excited about meeting their idol, so to speak. I had the opportunity to work alongside of my idol. In this picture is Robin Roberts, who was once at ESPN, and now you see her every morning on ABC Good Morning America. Nell Fortner is in the middle there. She was our 2000 gold medal winning Olympic coach. And then there was me with no accolades at this point. I was just really blessed. I was a no name, no fame. I think they hired me just to be cute and funny because that's really all I did. And then basketball, last but not least, for over 30 years, kept me gainfully employed. I've been a basketball commentator for many networks, to include ESPN and Fox Sports, NBA TV, Madison Square Garden Network. And this picture here is at the Big Ten Network, where I just retired after 13 years with that wonderful organization in Chicago. Greatest of all, I would say basketball taught me how to play through the fouls of life and how to win. So I'd like to add on another story here. Go with me back to 2007. 2007, I am an assistant coach at Indiana University. And my mom, who was a banker by profession, I always used to tell her she should be a college professor because she had a PhD in lecturing me, okay? Some of you are moms like that. Stop it, you're gonna ruin your kids, right? All right, so my mom had this way about her. She would go, well, you know what I think you should do? And I would go, oh no, here we go again. And I would just clench because she's going to tell me I need to settle down. I go too fast. I need to find myself a good husband that can take care of me. Like you can find those at the Walmart, right? I'll take 2 on a rollback. Thank you. Preferably with nice shoes. It doesn't work that way. It never worked that way. But to my mom, these were things I was just supposed to do. She had this way about her. So she's sitting at the table and she goes, you know what I think you should do? And I went, oh, here we go. And she says, you need to give up basketball. Hello, I just told you basketball was everything. What do you mean give it up? She says, you're missing your calling. You need to give up this basketball stuff. I know you love it, but finish writing that book. I've been trying to write a book for like 8 years, I think. Finish writing that book. Get yourself on the speaker circuit so you can inspire people. And then you can get yourself on Oprah. Now, see, my mama loved herself some Oprah. You weren't anybody unless you had been on Oprah. So I just kind of shake it off going, Ma, sure, right. I'll call Oprah up and jump on her show on Tuesday, right? Just not the way it worked. But to my mom, it was just what I was supposed to do with my life. Well, long story short, after I got that lecture, we went off to play basketball in one of the tournaments we play in. And as I was away playing basketball for whatever, I guess 4 or 5 days we were away. Short of it is mom and dad got ready to go back to Jacksonville, Florida. They would come up to, I'm a single mom, so they would come up and help me babysit, basically, my son, who was 9 at the time. Mom and dad head back to Jacksonville, Florida. At that time, I did not realize that was the last lecture I would ever hear from my mom. My mother died suddenly of a heart attack shortly after they returned to Jacksonville, Florida. It was absolutely, positively the hardest time of my life. You see, as much as I make fun of how my mom had this way about her and she was always nagging me, that advice meant so much to me. She was my confidant and I counted on her for all of those lectures. And so when she was gone, I wasn't really sure what I was supposed to do. It was the first time I ever experienced feeling frozen in time in my life. I did not have much choice. My father was turning 80 that year. I have a 9-year-old son, an 80-year-old dad. The only thing I thought made sense for me was to give up basketball, just like mom said. I gave up coaching and I moved back to Jacksonville, Florida, so that I could help take care of my father and of course my son, and we could be a little family together. But it was hard. I had a mortgage up in Bloomington, Indiana. I had to find a place to live in Jacksonville, Florida, and I was paying for both with no job, no income, and no idea where I was supposed to find one. One day, a couple of months in, as the bank account was getting smaller and smaller, I just broke down and I cried. And then I heard this voice, you know what I think you should do? Finish writing that book. Get yourself on the speaker circuit so you can inspire people, and then get yourself on Oprah. Well, during that time of life, give it all up, like I said, is exactly what I ended up doing. And frozen in time, I could only think about one thing, fouls, because this was a major foul in my life. Fouls are situations, circumstances, technology, and people who can limit, hinder, threaten, alter, and discourage us from our desired goal. That is a Vera Jones definition, because fouls are those things in our lives that can turn us upside down. And if you would pardon me for just a moment, every time I see this little man that I have here holding up the flag, he looks a lot like my angry ex-boyfriend. And I get caught up just kind of flipping him around and flipping him around. I digress. All right, back to where was I? All right, so fouls. So fouls are what I knew. And I remember that when I was in college, they would always say, write about what you know. My mom said, you know what I think you should do? Write that book. So I wrote about what I knew. I knew about fouls and I knew about basketball. Basketball. Play Through the Foul became my very first book, Basketball Lessons for the Game of Life. The next thing I knew is I started Play Through the Foul as a team building and communication training in corporate America and various places that need conflict resolution and communication and leadership training. I just became a book writing fool. It was one book after another. I just released Now I See at the end of last year. I don't share this information to pat myself on the back. I share this information because of the power of words. Words are so very powerful, and you as teachers, you as parents have to really, really think about how you're using them, especially with your children, because words can hurt or they can heal. And I challenge people, especially if I catch someone saying something not so nice. What did yours do today? See, my mother's words proved prophetic for me. To think that someone could just say, you know what I think you should do? Write books, use your gifts and talents to inspire people, help people. That's your calling. Get on the speaker circuit and then get yourself on Oprah. Prophetic. Well, I'm somebody's mama too, poor boy. There's my son, Andrew. There's a little picture of him with a basketball by his head. Soon as I got him home from the hospital, the first thing I did is I put him in a little Orlando Magic basketball jersey and then put my Syracuse University basketball by his head. And you can see it didn't bother him. He was smiling, even though I am one of those kids that forces, or parents that forces their ideals on their children. There Andrew is in another picture at the age of 3.5. You might not be able to see it here, but he is wearing hearing aids. About the age of 3.5 is when I discovered that Andrew was hearing impaired. I had no clue until the teachers at school started noticing some things. So I took him to the audiologist, and the audiologist says to me, well, ma'am, we believe based on all of the tests we've done that Andrew has possibly been deaf since birth. He's had a hearing impairment since birth. And I said, how could he have a hearing impairment since birth? What are you talking about? He's 3.5 years old. Why wouldn't I have known that? And the audiologist said, well, ma'am, you talk so loud, there's a good chance he never missed a beat. Got myself a new audiologist is what I did. Mm-hmm. So there Andrew is at the age of 12, on his 12th birthday. This picture is him sitting there eating some biscuits. My son does not eat cake, so I always have to fix him biscuits for his birthday. And a lot of people didn't believe he could be my son because you can't see me, but I eat a lot of cake, okay? So yeah, there he is smiling with his little biscuits and his little candle. Shortly after this picture was taken, his birthday is in January. In March of 2010, Andrew was outside playing football with the neighborhood kids. Suddenly he came running inside, crying hysterically, Mom, Mom. I said, what's wrong? What's wrong? He was like, Mom, I was outside playing football and Noah threw the pass and I went out to catch it, but then all of a sudden everything just went dark and I flipped over the electrical box. And I went, oh, and I'm looking at him like, did you hurt your arms? And I'm looking at his legs and no, Ma, it's not my arms or my legs. It's my eyes. Something is terribly wrong with my eyes. For about a year, Andrew had been complaining of blurred vision and headaches. But this was the first time that he had ever said anything had blacked out. I had been taking him back and forth to the optometrist for different eyeglass prescriptions. But this time it was odd. It was March Madness, and something in my spirit said, no, this time, take him to the doctor. They have changed his prescription twice this year. Take him into the doctor. It was extremely important because I was on my way into Chicago on Thursday. This happened on a Sunday. And on Thursday, I had to be in Chicago because it's March Madness, the busiest time of the year for anybody in any form of basketball. I had to be in the studio to deliver, and I had all these teams that I had to worry about and get ready for. So I decided to make an appointment for Andrew. I called first thing Monday morning. They said, yep, we can get you in, Coach Jones, come on in. We got an appointment for him, bring him in. It was about 11 o'clock. So when I got to the doctor's office, I understood what was going on with my son in terms of what he was going through. So I began to explain to the doctor as best I could. And I said, well, you know, he was outside, he had the football and he flipped over the thing and everything went dark and he's been having these headaches and blurred vision. And she said, you know what, this sounds a lot like migraines. I said, no, I don't think it's migraines because I know a lot of people with migraines, you see, and he never complains about nausea. He doesn't get the light sensitivity. It's just the blurred vision. It's just, and she goes, yeah, a lot of people. I said, well, he passed out the other day. She said, yeah, a lot of people who have migraines, they get them so bad that they can actually black out. And I said, look, I don't want to be argumentative. I don't. But I watch House and Grey's Anatomy, and I'm telling you, this ain't no migraine, right? Because I knew better. And I'm glad that I pushed and I advocated because they decided to order Andrew an MRI. It was set up for Wednesday morning. Well, Andrew and we returned home, and on Tuesday, something very odd happened. Tuesday night, I'm sitting in my bedroom and I'm just sitting there. I've got all these papers spread out over my bed and I'm getting ready for the Big Ten Network. I'm trying to memorize all these teams and stats and all of the things that I have to do to get ready to go to studio. And out of the blue, I hear this voice. And this voice is very, very deep and resonant, but it was a voice, but it wasn't a voice, but it was very clear. And it said, write this down. And I started, I was like, what? And I heard it again, write this down. So without delay, I reached over. I didn't even use my laptop. I just reached over and started handwriting a whole bunch of stuff on a little notepad. And out of me in about 40, maybe tops 45 minutes came this entire story. It was unbelievable. Every line rhymed. It was this little poem, a poetic rhyming story about this woman who was hanging out with two knuckleheaded friends, one named Worry and one named Doubt. And the longer she hung out with these two knuckleheaded friends, the worse her life became. Until one day she wakes up and she hears about this new friend named Faith. And once she meets Faith, her entire world opens up. It was an incredible story. I went running into the living room. I said, Andrew, you have to hear this. Listen to this. I used to have two very close friends. Seems we were always hanging out. One of my friends' name was Worry. The other's name was Doubt. We did everything together, growing closer over the years. Worry would tell incredible stories that sometimes would bring me to tears. Doubt was a bit overprotective. She questioned my every need. She told me things I shouldn't do or try for fear of where they may lead. Those two truly look out for me and were always somewhere around, especially when I was hurt and always when I was down. Holy smoke, I thought I was going to be the next 44-year-old rapper. I was screaming, Andrew, this is awesome. And he says, Mom, what an unbelievable story and poem. Are you kidding me? You just wrote this? Andrew, I promise you, I just wrote it in about 40 minutes. I don't even know how it came out. He said, Mom, this is an incredible inspiration. You've got to make it into your next book. You've got to make it into your next book. And so I did. Spoiler alert. The tagline to the poem was stop hanging out with worry and doubt and make faith your new best friend. I was so proud of myself and I couldn't wait to call my publishing friend and get ready to get this thing out into the world. But Wednesday morning, we had to wake up. It was time to take Andrew in for his MRI. The MRI, the whole process might have taken an hour and a half, 2 hours. I was on my way back home. As I dropped Andrew off at school, and then I was getting ready to go into my house. The moment I stepped into my house, the cell phone rang. It was the doctor's office. They said, we're going to need you to come in. And I said, well, I can't. I got to fly out tomorrow. I can't come in right now. Just go ahead. I know there's HIPAA laws or whatever, but you have permission to tell me over the phone. They said, no, Miss Jones, you're going to have to come in. How many of you know when they tell you you got to come in, it's not going to be a very good day? And it wasn't. I'm shaking the entire drive as I'm heading to the doctor's office 20, 25 minutes away. When I walked in, my typically stoic looking doctor literally had tears in her eyes, and she stretched her arms out to me and she said, I think this is the hardest thing I've ever had to do, as she showed me back into the room. She said, Andrew has a very large brain tumor. It's called a craniopharyngioma, and it's pressing on his optic nerve as well as his pituitary gland. I had told the doctor in the visit that on top of the fact that Andrew was having problems seeing, that he wasn't growing, and that was the cause. And the problem with seeing, obviously, was also the cause. The next thing I knew, I was headed off to some neurosurgeon who said, Andrew's in an emergency situation and this needs to happen right away. And then they began with a long list of things that I thought my mother's death was a foul. Well, this was flagrant. We have to tell you that there's a good chance your son may die, but we're going to do everything we can to save his life. Even if we save his life, Miss Jones, we need you to understand that there's a good chance Andrew is going to be blind, but we'll do everything we can to protect his existing sight. And no matter what, if Andrew lives, he will have a long list of medical complications. It's going to be a very, very hard road for both of you. He'll live with a lot of medical conditions that could be life-threatening. He will probably become morbidly obese. He'll suffer from diabetes. He'll suffer from lack of pituitary gland, which means he's going to have to live off of hormones and injections, and he won't be able to make any hormones on his own. Again, this could be life-threatening. It's going to be a very long road. The expectation of life for someone with a craniopharyngioma to live 10 years is a milestone. not only did I have to get a hold of my own feelings and my own thoughts, but I had to figure out how I could get home to explain this to my 12-year-old biscuit loving son. When Andrew came home from school, he came in the house, his happy-go-lucky self, and I said, "Hey, Drew, come sit over here." I said, "You remember that story I wrote last night?" He was like, "Yeah, the one about faith. Ma, I love that story about faith. Did you call the publisher?" And I said, "Not yet." I said, "That story is not meant for the rest of the world just yet, Andrew. That story is meant for you and me. I really believe God miraculously placed that story in my spirit, because it's you and I that have to stop hanging out with worry and doubt. It's you and I that have to make faith our new best friend," as I began to explain to him his fate. Surgery day was March 24th of 2010. This is a picture of my son standing in his little undergarments and the little robe that makes your butt cold, except his is opened in the front. I took this picture, to be honest, as faith-filled as I am, I just wasn't sure if I would ever see my son again. So I took this picture because I wanted to have it. And shortly after I took this picture, and Andrew's still trying to muster a smile, they took him back and gave him something I call the happy juice. The happy juice is when you're in the hospital and you are legally high. You are feeling no pain. You are floating on cloud 9. Andrew laid on that gurney just giggling and giggling, and they got ready to come in to wheel him into surgery. And so my last words to him, I was looking for, what do I say? What at this moment could I possibly say? And I don't know, it pops in my mind. I go, Andrew, he goes, "What, Ma?" I said, "Andrew, the book, remember? Who's your best friend, Andrew? Who's your best friend?" He goes, "Faith, Ma." "Faith is my new best friend." He remembered, and somehow I held on tight that would be enough. 6 hours later, friends and family came from all over, and we prayed for 6 hours. And when Dr. Heger came out, the surgeon, the neurosurgeon, came out of that surgery room, our faith had grown, and he said that the craniopharyngioma disappeared, that he had gotten it all. And he told me I could go in and see my son. And there Andrew is, laying there with a scar from the top of his forehead down to his ear. And as I walked in and looked at my son, I was so happy that my son was alive. But it was only moments later that I also realized that he was blind. Huge flagrant foul. Because not only was it that I didn't know what to do, but I had no clue what I was supposed to do to help Drew. He stayed in intensive care for well over a week until they brought in, wheeled him to a regular room where they brought in Tibbs, the seeing eye dog. And Andrew is sitting there and again, just trying to smile. Tibbs seemed to be looking at me as if he was trying to communicate that things just got rough. It was at that moment that I began thinking really hard about what our life would look like. And at that moment, I realized that I was learning some important blind life and leadership lessons. And it's these lessons that I wish to share with you. I remember a quote from Helen Keller, who said, "The world is full of suffering. It is also full of the overcoming of it." So began the blind life and leadership lessons. The first was no peripheral distractions. You see, after being in the hospital almost a couple of weeks, Andrew finally woke up. One day I had lost track of time. He woke up and he said he could see just a little bit of light. And then the next day he could see just a little bit. And the way he still sees is that he's blind in his right eye and he has no peripheral in his left. So Andrew's vision is one where he looks through a little cone straight ahead, about a 20-degree field. I remember that your life is controlled by what you focused on. And everyone said that no peripheral distractions no peripheral was going to be a bad thing. And I was a basketball coach. I was mentally brought up to think differently, to think, how do we spin this positive? And as I listened to all of the negativity surrounding my son and his health and his sight, I said, well, okay, fine. He has no peripheral, which means he's going to bump into things a lot. He had to learn how to walk again. There were so many things he had to learn at age 12. But I said, well, maybe it's a good thing, because when you can only see what's right in front of you, you have no peripheral, but you also have no peripheral distractions, because over here is worry and over here is doubt. Stop hanging out with worry and doubt. Focus on what's in front of you. With that came the second lesson, was to focus on that goal and move towards it straight ahead, just one step at a time. Well, this sounded like great advice, and I was all pumped up to coach my son through this thing. But Andrew said one day, very frustrated and upset with me, in tears, he said, that all sounds fine for you, Mom. That's great with your motivational speaking stuff. But you're not the 7th grader that goes to school and gets bullied and picked on because he has to walk with a cane. You're not the 7th grader that gets migraine headaches every day and has to be rushed to the hospital almost every other week. You're not the 7th grader that has to take all of these injections and drugs and all of these things. And I'm going through this and nobody understands. Andrew became tremendously depressed. There was a point where he even became suicidal. I had no idea what to do. I only knew one way, and that was to just focus on the goal, that my son would get better. So he would cry and complain. And I'm just being honest, as a parent, maybe you can understand, I couldn't take it anymore. So one day I just snapped. He would cry and cry every day, sometimes 3, 4, 5 times a day. He would be in tears. And I said, stop it, Andrew. Stop it. You can't live your life this way. You don't understand. I said, stop it. And then I lost it. The real coach in me came out. I took my son to the busiest, most congested place I could find. Downtown New York City, Fashion Ave. And I had to stop because Macy had a little sale on shoes, but whatever. We went. I put him on a plane and then I put him on a train. And when we stepped off of that train in New York City, there were people going left and right. He had never seen so many people in his entire life. And he began to cry as he stood there with his cane. I said, stop it. Mom, I don't want to. I said, you listen to me. You're going to get this cane and you're going to follow behind me. But what if I bump into people? I said, I don't care, Andrew. Get the cane. You're going to follow behind me. And if people get in your way, you're going to take that cane. You're just going to swing it like this, okay? Swing it like this, okay? Just keep on walking. Hurry up. I got tickets to the Lion King. Andrew sat on the corner. Ugh. Everybody look out. My mama's crazy. My mama's crazy. But he did it. He walked and he walked and he used his cane and he faced his fear and he replaced fear with focus. He replaced fouls with focus, the faith and the focus and the fortitude. Get rid of the fouls and the focus. I mean, the focus is absolutely necessary. Focus on the goal was lesson 3. Lesson 3 was to ask for help, because clearly I was not fit to be Andrew's O&M, his orientation and mobility instructor. I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I was a basketball coach, just determined to get him to the next level. We needed help, and thank goodness we found it. We found it at the Florida School for the Deaf and Blind. When pride says do it yourself, but wisdom says ask someone who knows, be humble enough to listen to your wisdom. You'll be proud that you did. At the Florida School for the Deaf and the Blind, they took a child that had to be homeschooled because he was tired of being bullied in school and he was struggling so much with his confidence and self-esteem. They knew how to work with kids. They had been doing it well over 100 years. Thank goodness for the Florida School for the Deaf and the Blind and the many teachers that are just like you, that help parents and students just like me. They helped a kid who was withdrawn and depressed become valedictorian of his 8th grade class. The 4th lesson, I can. Don't let the things you can't do overshadow the things that you can. They said he can't play football. He can't play basketball. He'll never be able to drive a car. He can't do this. He can't do that. I got tired of the doctors and everyone around talking about his can't as a person with a winner's mentality, I said, then what can you do, Andrew? Let's focus on what can you do. He found out about goalball, a Paralympic sport for the blind. He got to taste the same things I got to taste as an athlete, playing for something bigger than in himself and with teammates. It was a beautiful thing. You can focus on that. The fifth lesson was to trust your new normal. Change is often difficult, but it's also inevitable. So you got to trust that you're going to survive it. After all, every day is a new day and you are still here. I suspect it's for a reason. Andrew not only joined goalball, but his can got so stimulated, he decided to go out for the track and field team as well. There he threw the shot put and the discus. One day, the Florida School for the Deaf and the Blind was competing with the other public schools in the area, the sighted athletes, and they came over and did a special little interview. And guess who got his 15 seconds of fame? Drew Bear. Andrew, they came over to interview him. And I used to always say to him, you just got to trust your new normal, babe. This is your new normal. Got to trust it, babe. It's going to work. It's going to work. So when they came over to interview him, they were like, well, Andrew, how is it you competing, being a blind and visually impaired person against all of the sighted individuals who may have a little bit of an advantage here? He said, well, sure, it's a challenge, but it's really just about trusting your new normal. He listened to me. Moms and dads out there, your teenagers one day are going to wake up and they're just going to listen to you. There's hope. Andrew came home one day and just said to me, as I could see the confidence growing, Mom, I want to get a job. I said, okay, babe, if you want to get a job, you know what you want to do? He marched himself up to the Publix grocery store. Next thing I knew, he had filled out an application. We only lived about 3/4 of a mile from the grocery store, and he walked, filled out an application on his own. A couple of days later, they got the call back, did the interview, and he was working at Publix. It's not about what you can see. It's about who you are meant to be. This is a common challenge for those in the sighted world. Understand, sight is not vision. For me, they're two totally different things, even though we use those words interchangeably. Sight to me, it's the here and now. It's the perception of your present. It's physical. Vision is spiritual. Vision is that thing that is placed inside of you and inside of your child and inside of teachers that say, I would like to do something I haven't actually done before, but I believe it's possible. Sight is only what you've already done. It's right here, right now. If you want to grow, you can't just rely on sight. This is what blind children taught me at the Florida School for the Deaf and the Blind, because they had no sight and they were achieving every single day with what? Vision. Vision is faith in your future. Last but not least, you are significant. So play through the foul, exceed the vision. We sometimes think we're striving to be our best for our own glory. Ultimately, we strive to be the best to serve others. We think it's about us, but it really is about taking all of our gifts and talents and giving it away to help someone else along their way. Because in doing that, we encourage them to do the same. Andrew went on with a full scholarship to Florida State University academically. He ended up going in with 21 credits. Remember, this is a kid that didn't even want to go to school, but the right push allowed him to do this. He has a interest in teaching. He missed out in an interview, but then COVID happened and he is of high risk, so he was not able to get a teaching degree. So he worked down the hall in my home, and he's as mad about being back home as I'm rolling my eyes that he won't clean his room. But he's here. He's here, and he wants to teach and he wants to help others with disabilities. You see how the fouls in your life, if you just have faith, focus, and fortitude, will come back and actually present you with purpose. So for you, a recap. No peripheral distractions. I know you're worried about your children, and rightfully so, whether you're teaching them or you're parenting them. We all worry. But at some point, if you want to move ahead, you've got to stop the worry and the doubt and just focus on the goal that's straight ahead. Don't try to rush, just move one step at a time. And if you can't get there, ask for help. Don't let the things you can't do overshadow the things you can. Same for your children. Trust that eventually you'll learn to survive in your new normal. We always do. Look at what we've done with COVID. Now we're all walking around with masks and we're making it work and nobody's happy about it, but it is what it is. One thing worse than losing your sight is losing your vision. They're not the same. Growth comes with trusting your vision. And last but not least, if you haven't heard it from anyone else, parents, you are so significant in your life, in the life of your child. Passionately play your position because they feed off of what you do. So play your position like I did as a basketball player with passion. Is parenting challenging? Yes. Is it worth it? A bigger yes. That boy is the light of my life, and I know that your children are the light of yours. So just keep doing what you have to do. So I mentioned the coronavirus, right? Huge foul. That's where we are right now. We're facing a lot of fouls out there. COVID-19, we are using words like social distancing, stay at home, mask, all fouls, and I get it. And it is even harder. Like I say, I have a son who graduated from Florida State University who is so excited to get a job and then realize he can't. And so he's stuck here in mom's house. But he is working. He fought through and he got himself a job working from home. It might not work out the way you want sometimes, but you got to play through the foul regardless. But for many of us, it leaves us looking like this little girl who's pouting, holding her little basketball and just wants to go home. Quit fouling. I'm not having any fun anymore. We react this way. But life, the keys to success, the keys to unlocking your potential are most often found in your pain. That's what I found. Because in our pain, for instance, with COVID, I had to figure out in my own job, how do I go from standing on stages across the country, talking to people one-on-one, face-to-face, and suddenly start standing and doing Zoom. And I didn't like it. I'm a people person. But the shining light is I get to do Zoom calls in my slippers and pajama pants. It's not so bad. We spend a lot of time with wasted worry. According to a recent Penn State University study, 91% of the things we worry about never happen. Did you know that? 91%. What they did is they took a bunch of college students and they basically put them in, a big control group, and they asked them to write down all of the things over the next 30-day period in a month or so, that things that were measurable as to whether they happened or not. The things that were worrying them. It was things like, oh my gosh, I'm so worried I'm not going to pass my chemistry test. Oh my gosh, I'm afraid that I won't have enough money for next semester's, payment. Oh my goodness, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. And they would write it down. And over 30 days, they would ask them to go back, and they calculated from all these students the percentage of times that the things they were so stressed and worried about, the amount of times they actually happened. 9%. Some of us we just worry that we don't have something to worry about. And I'm not saying that your worries and your doubts and your fears aren't warranted. I'm just saying we don't even realize the power of the mind and how much they actually don't happen. So here's a poll. Let's make this a little bit interactive. What percentage of human thoughts do you believe are negative? Is it A, 35%, B, 50%, C, 68%, D, 80%, or E, love this answer, I believe most people don't think at all. The poll has popped up. Go ahead, pop in. Tell me what you think. 35, is it A, B, C, or D, or E? I can't even tell you how many times I get E. Let's take about 10 more seconds. How many times do you believe, what percentage do you believe human thoughts are negative? The voice from beyond. Do we have an answer? I need a voice from beyond. Here's the poll. 10%, okay, 35, 50, 68, 80, 40%. And the E, I don't believe. I believe most people don't think at all. That's my favorite answer right there. I believe that too. But no, the answer is, well, thank you very much. Let me just go on to the next. Here's the answer. In 2005, the National Science Foundation published an article regarding research about human thoughts per day. The average person, they said at this time, thought 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts per day. Of those, 80% are negative. 95% are exactly the same repetitive thoughts as the day before. Mind-blowing. Mind-blowing how much we think negatively. Now, there are people out there that did not vote for 80% that are going, no, it's not. I don't believe it. See, right there, that's a negative thought. But it is. It's pretty remarkable. And in this age of social media, there are actually some of these polls and tests and studies are now saying we think as many as 100,000 thoughts per day. Think about it. Years ago, back in my day, anyway, we didn't have cell phones that were like this all the time. Even when I go to bed at night, I used to just go to bed, maybe play some music. We didn't have all of this. Now everything is, let me just check my phone and play about 20 games and check, 100 email and all of these things that we do because we're constantly thinking. So think about that. The negativity part, where does that come from? Well, it's science. Our brain basically has this little thing called the amygdala. And the amygdala houses our thoughts or determinations or processing of whether we should fight in the face of fear or flight or even freeze, right? And truthfully, back in the caveman days, way back in the, at the beginning of time, everything frightened us. We didn't have Google to go, what is that? What kind of bee is that just stung me? We didn't have time. We didn't know all of these things. So to protect us, it was a good thing. Fear was a good thing because seeing something slither on the ground that you did not recognize, yeah, it could kill you. It is a snake. And so that is an evolutionary part of how we think that just never caught up with modern day, that maybe it's just not that dangerous anymore. It's still dangerous, but not that dangerous. It's funny, when I give this presentation, I have this picture here of a caveman, and I always say way back in the caveman days. And I had this holier than thou guy sitting in the audience, and he was like, I don't believe in caveman. I don't believe in evolution. There's no such thing as cavemen. And I was like, sir, I appreciate your opinion, but this picture right here is, well, I do online dating. And this guy right here asked me out last Tuesday. That's Carl the caveman. So you keep your thoughts to yourself and I'll have mine. All right. It is what it is. One of my favorite parenting quotes, friend, what's parenting like? Me. You know, all the side effects they list on prescription drug commercials? It's like that. And it does feel like that sometimes. It sure does. But it also should feel like this. Encourage and support your kids, because children are apt to live up to what you believe of them. Lady Bird Johnson said that. So think about that. What you say, remember my mom's words, prophetic. It's why I'm standing here in front of you now. And one of the many things I also do is I go around and I work on strengths and team building and conflict and all of these things in corporate and government settings. And one of the exercises I like to do, and you can try this with your child, is to fan your I can. See, if one of the things that I found out in some of my studies is when I go in and I say, list your strengths, sometimes people, grown adults, look at me like, what? Like, we don't even have the self-awareness and self-esteem, even as adults, to know what we're really, really good at. Not everybody, some of us do, but I was always surprised at how many people did not. So do this with your child. Do this for yourself. Start listing your strengths, but here's what's important about strengths. It's the perceived positive effect. It's what you do with the strengths. For instance, I'm a confident speaker. Anyone could say, so what? Why does that even matter? It matters because people relate well with me, and that gives me and them significance. It gives me purpose. There's a perceived positive effect. I'm very organized. I'm not, thank God for my assistant. I'm not, but if I were, maybe the perceived positive effect is my team trusts me with handling critical details. So work with your children to help them understand why their I can is so important, because you matter, you are significant. And you know what? Who cares that you can't do that, but you can do this. And it's good because it helps others do that. Think about that and how much that would encourage and empower your children. It works sometimes even with cleaning your room. I found that the more I said, I love the way you clean your room, Andrew, the more apt he was to do it, but not always. Greatness lies not in being strong, but in the right use of strength. When my son was 5 years old, last thing I'm going to share with you, he was about 7 years old. He came in and he was going to play basketball for the first time. He was going to go off to a little basketball thing, recreation thing. And he says, Mom, what's the hardest position to play? He said, I know the point guard. Is it the point guard? Because he's the one he's like the quarterback. So he's got to bring the ball up the court and he's got to make the passes and run all the plays. Right, Mom? And I was like, no, I don't think it's the point guard, sweetie. He goes, oh, I know. It's the big guy in the center. It's Shaq. It's Shaquille O'Neal, right, Mom? That's the hardest position to play because he's got to get those rebounds and people are always hitting him all the time. And he's got to be strong, right, Mom? I was like, no, I don't think it's the center. It's not Shaq. It's not Shaq. And he goes, well, what's the hardest position to play? I said, sweetie, the hardest position to play is the position when you're not playing. It's when you're on the bench. It's the hardest position in sports, and it's the hardest position in life. And right now, you're listening to this, and you may very well feel like your life, with COVID and everything else, is possibly on the bench. I'm going to challenge you to passionately play your position anyway. Because that's what I did at Syracuse University. You see, when I was coming out of Fort Washington, Maryland, Prince George's County, Maryland, in the Washington, D.C. area, there was, all these people saying, Vera Jones, they would put my name in the Washington Post, and then they put my name in the USA Today, and they said, Vera Jones is one heck of a basketball player, so I went to Syracuse University thinking my poo-poo did not stink. It smelled like roses. Well, apparently my coach didn't read the Washington Post or the USA Today. She sat me on the bench. So I got a little taste of pouting, being angry, calling her names, rolling my eyes and saying she was the worst coach ever. How dare she sit me on the bench? She obviously doesn't know what she's doing. And I sat there long enough and I failed to get in the game long enough until one day I started learning more lessons. I have an acronym for you, and I want you to think about this as it is applicable to your own life or the life of your child. So you might not be where you want to be, but the biggest opportunity for growth is on the bench. The B stands for breathe. Sometimes in the basketball game and in life, you're put on the bench because you're not doing anything wrong. It's just time to rest. Because in that period of rest, you're able to do so many things. You're able to be still and to listen and to understand what the vision is for your life. Sometimes in the midst of it all, when it feels so challenging and overwhelming, please, parents, teachers, breathe. The E stands for evaluate, to analyze the situation. Sitting there on that bench after I got done pouting, I began to ask myself, why are you sitting here on this bench? You don't like being here. Oh yeah, she said something about I need to play harder defense. I need to get in the gym and work out a little more. Maybe I'll try that. Who knew? You analyze the game differently when you're sitting on the bench than when you're running around out there playing all the time. You make actually better decisions while you're on the bench because you can see the whole game a lot more clearly if you're willing to just take that time. N stands for nurture. Your patience and your perspectives grow and change while you're on the bench of your life. Because when you're sitting there long enough and it's out of your control, like COVID, you're going to learn to be patient, right? And you're also going to learn to change your perspectives because otherwise you will go cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. So nurture yourself with positive thoughts, breathe with patience, think about new ways of doing things. That's how you nurture your spirit That's how you nurture your mind and your body, with hope. That's what new perspectives give you, hope. C, cheer. I sat there long enough at Syracuse University with my little butt on the bench, and suddenly I realized we were winning basketball games, even if I wasn't out there. There were other people on my team doing great things. Huh, who knew? I thought it was all about me. And the more I began to cheer, as you see, there's a picture of me sitting on the bench, just cheering away. I decided if I'm going to sit on this bench, I'm going to be happy about it. I'm just happy we're winning. Cheer for others. There's something beautiful in being able to give that emotion of encouragement away. It comes back to you. And the last thing you could do on the bench is the big one. It's hunger. It's your resilience test. Because the truth of the matter is, the longer you stay on that bench, for me, the longer I stood on that bench my freshman year, I had a decision to make. Either I was going to quit, or I was going to do whatever it took to get off of this bench, get back in that game as soon as I had my opportunity. The hunger is necessary because it's that helps you understand what you're made of as a parent, what you're made of as a person, what you're made of as a player in this game of life. Your biggest opportunity for growth is on the bench. So all of that thought of fears, fouls, and failures, don't worry. Don't worry about being successful, but work toward being significant, and the success will naturally follow. Oprah Winfrey said that. And remember, I told you my mama told me to get myself on Oprah. Well, it pleases me to share with you, because of my animated cartoon character, this is as close as I've come. I had to do it, folks. I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna get to Oprah, but for right now, my cartoon character touching her shoulder, that's about it, close as I'm gonna come. It's all about having an attitude of significance. So perspective for me, and I hope for you, your takeaway is this. There was a time in life that the only thing that was in my sight was despair and destruction and possibly death of my son. But the vision was one day he would make it, and he would become something great, and he would become something special, and he would become significant, because that's what vision said. Mine and his vision, trusted. Faith, focus, fortitude will help you play through the foul. Those F-bombs, fear, fouls, failure, drop them. Replace them with faith, replace them with focus, and replace them with fortitude. That's the way you win. I hope now you see. That is my 1 hour presentation. Thank you very much. You can find and follow me on verasvoiceworks.com. I'm also all over social media at the Vera Jones on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and then just my name, Vera Jones. You'll find me on LinkedIn as well as on YouTube. Now I See is available. I told you I was going to do the shameless self-plug, but it is the entire story of my son and me, and we welcome you to pick it up. Given COVID, it would keep me from stealing things, basically, if I had your purchase. I appreciate it. I appreciate the support. That is the presentation. And right now, what I'm going to do is turn it back over to Olaya and the team. I'm going to take about 1 minute, tops 90 seconds, as I invite my son in to take your questions. We would love to hear from you, and we want to just help you any way we can with whatever knowledge we have. All right. Thank you very much. Let me stop this video.
Thanks, Vera. Okay, while Vera is getting herself set up with her special guest, I'd like to let you know that you can learn more about Vera's book, and just like she mentioned, at her website, verasvoiceworks.com. But you can also read an excerpt, she is an expert, an excerpt of her book, Now I See, on the Family Connect website. And that is at familyconnect.org/blog/uncategorized/I-can. And she's just such a motivational speaker, and just her story is so inspiring and motivating. I really hope that you all have learned a lot from her and just feel like you can, take on any challenge that comes your way. Either now as a parent, working or dealing with the issues that come with raising a child with a visual impairment or blindness, and especially right now during COVID, we're all facing challenges that we did not expect to have to deal with. And so Family Connect is available to help you through that as well. Oh, it looks like Vera's back. So I'm gonna shut my video and sound off and hand it right back to her.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Please welcome in Andrew. I'm trying to get you to move over. I think I'm taking too much of the screen. Hold on. There we go. Can you get over? There we go. Thank you very much. This is my son, Andrew, and he has agreed to get off work early so he could join you all here at APH Family Connect. And so we're both here just to kind of take your questions. Thank you, Latoya Stewart. I see that popping in. Melanie says, hi, Andrew.
Hello, Melanie.
And you know what, Andrew, we'll just kind of start off. Obviously, they've now heard your journey a little bit, but now you're a grown 22-year-old man. Your story began, at least for them, about 10 years ago. And just kind of talk about your thoughts and of overcoming and your gradual progress to where you are today.
So after the surgery and everything and losing my sight, it was definitely a hard process. It was a long process for me to heal and overcome and gain the confidence. And it took me a while, but it took figuring out what I could do. For so long, I focused on the things that I could not do. Like, oh man, I'm never going to be able to drive a car or ride a bike, or all these negative thoughts in my head. But it only takes one positive one. Mom told me while I was at the Florida School for the Deaf and Blind, just go try something. She didn't really care what it was. Just, knitting club. I don't know, what do they have there? Do they have ping pong and so things like that? And so I found myself goalball, which is the Paralympic sport for the blind. And with that, it wasn't just goalball itself that gave me the confidence, but the fact that I had teammates and everything that were relying on me and counting on me to, do my best for the team. Eventually, I became team captain in goalball in my junior and senior year. And so that was definitely exciting, and it made me think, oh, what else could I do? So I also joined track and field. I threw the shot put and discus, and from then on, it was just up from there.
There's a question here that says, my son is an avid goalball player as well. Do you have any words of wisdom for a 13-year-old guy?
Ooh, yeah. So my advice is just stick with it and learn as much as you can from those who are high up, your seniors and everything, and just take in as much as you can, and just realize it is a team sport. Like, even though you have your individual position in goalball, it's very much a team sport, and have fun.
There's somebody that's here from Jamaica, and Melanie says thanks, she'll pass that on. One of the things too, as we wait, please, whatever questions, we'll do our best to answer them. But one of the things too that I think that was hardest for parent and child was the emotional aspect of the struggles. And you're so focused sometimes on the physical. Andrew had a lot of medical conditions as well as the blindness, and just learning to walk and use a cane and all of those things, that sometimes you don't even realize how tough the emotional part is. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, I can. So of all of the things, despite the physical being the most obvious, the emotional, the day-to-day, what people didn't know, because I tried to hide it. I cried a lot and was angry and upset and didn't understand why would this happen to me. It's a big part that I definitely recommend even for myself. I had a counselor just to talk my emotions out and just try to figure out who I was, like what would I do, things like that. And But it's, as I said before, it is important to have an outlet for your emotions. Goalball was one for mine, obviously in college, but um, well, not in college, in high school, but as I was going into college most recently, uh, I learned for my emotions and everything, I enjoyed being social, you know, around other people. And that kind of helped me get out of whatever slump that I was in. Just being a part of something. Being a part of something is definitely one of the biggest things that I think helps both for emotionally, mentally, physically, things like that. Just for overall health in
Yeah.
general.
Yeah, so the isolation obviously could be a huge problem. There's a question from Susan that says, Andrew, do you ever look at this as a blessing?
Um, you know, I do now. Earlier when I first had it, I didn't understand. I thought it was more of a curse when I first. I'm like, oh man, I'm visually impaired. What I'm going to do? But now I feel like I can share my story with others and inspire others, and even just, you know, people who are passing by, my friends and everybody. They say, "Oh, you're so inspiring." I don't necessarily think I'm doing anything. I'm just trying to be the best that I can be. Um, but I do think it is a blessing.
You know, God has a way of definitely waking you up and using you for a purpose. There's a good question here from says, what would you want TVIs to know when working with our students?
TVIs, okay. Sorry. Explain what TVIs are. I believe, I think what is that
Teachers of the visually
Teachers of the
impaired.
visually impaired.
teachers of visually impaired.
Yeah,
Okay.
sorry.
Um, okay, so that's a tough one. You have to. I think there's a balance between being tough on the students, but also being you know, like empathy with the students to understand what they're going through. I know there are some teachers who are also visually impaired and they know what it's like to be visually impaired, but there are some who aren't, that who are teachers, and they don't know what the everyday life is. But you can't let the students just be, you know, depressed and down forever. You know, you have to pick them up and say, yeah, you can do it, and believe in them and just help walk them through the way. That's,
Did you find support? Okay, that's for me, from other parents of children with blindness and visual impairments. If so, who and or what groups or organizations? So for me, for sure, one of the biggest things was once I got involved at the School for the Deaf and the Blind, Florida School for the Deaf and the Blind. That really was the bulk of where my interaction was. I actually got on the school committee, and you know, for 2 of those years that Andrew was there, I was on the school committee, and you know, just hearing other hearing from other parents as well as the teachers and the administrators about what went on, and then having a chance to meet some of Andrew's classmates and dorm mates and things like that, and just opening my mind to a world that I just didn't understand, and I don't think we ever fully understand, but that empathy does come with the more you know. So first and foremost, the School for the Deaf and Blind, they would even, because Andrew also has a hearing impairment, they would even offer sign language classes. So I would go there to take that. I didn't get past much except knowing my name, which is Vera. But just learning, there's so much out there. If there's one thing that I learned is just of all the things I did not know existed. Another organization that came in for us was DBS, the Division of Blind Services, which was really, really big for Andrew, especially with going into college. He definitely had some things in high school, but going into college, that was really, really important. He had the opportunity to spend a lot of time with them, and you all had different field trips, and there was just a lot of different things. There was another organization that came to your school. It was called iLab then. I'm not sure what it is now, but that was an organization that was more into just
like independent living.
Yeah, independent living and helping with the students. And I guess it's different for everyone. There are some national organizations, but there are local organizations as well. One of the ones that I had the privilege to speak for was Outlook Nebraska. If anybody's from Nebraska, fabulous organization. So my best advice would be to probably start with the Division of Blind Services. in your, town that can give you a list of resources and parents groups and things like that. I did not find parents groups fast enough. I wish, like even now, like that's my number one thing is I wish that I was wise enough to know what was there. We just didn't get that information until Andrew went to the Florida School for the Deaf and the Blind. So I'm thinking even at your school, when you went to college, there was a division there. So they're all over. There are groups like, Family Connect. There's so many things that are out there. So don't be discouraged. Who helped you help him with his homework? How closely did DBS work with the school and his transition IEP? Where was co-planning done between school and DBS? So the first thing when he was in his public school, the IEP, as a parent, I was extremely involved in just making sure, we could advocate. And there was also the Division of Blind Services did point us in the direction. This was when he was in his public school before he went to the blind school, of someone that could help us with O&M. You had the O&M instructor that also taught Braille. And so there was someone that would come into the schools, and he also had a counselor that would help, with the IEP. So in the public school, but even then, they're not always as well versed. By the time we went to the School for the Deaf and the Blind, DBS was definitely connected, and they would come to they would actually have IEP meetings where Andrew would be, I would be, his teachers, or at least his counselors would be. And so it was very good because everybody would be in a room together, maybe a dozen people in a room together. And so that was the difference for us, was going to a school that specialized in children for the blind was just better for us. I'm sure there's public schools out there that do make the right accommodations and accessibility, but I just sing the praises of blind schools because they know what they're doing. So how was the transition? Co-planning, yes, was done. Anything else?
Also, I did get the opportunity while at the Florida School for the Deaf and Blind to transition back into like part-time to the public school. I would take 1 or 2 classes each semester just to get the experience there, and it was really well planned out and integrated, where they had good accommodations and everything in the other school I went to. It was great. It was good learning experience and everything, just so that it wasn't so in one place, that we could kind of go out and explore and like navigate larger hallways and things like that. And so that was also really nice too, how they did that. I know not necessarily the same as the IEP per se, but they did have things in place.
Yeah, and the biggest thing there that I would also add is just you have to advocate. Like one of the things that I stayed on Andrew, his social worker stayed on him, is just advocating for yourself, not being afraid to ask for the things that you need, to not have those fears and have those things in place. Do you mind sharing your Waffle House experience?
Yeah, I can. Waffle House is just, it's interesting. So this was in college a couple years ago. I needed a part-time job and everything, so I just went to applying. I am one of those, I guess, go-getters. Even with my first job at Publix, it's like when I want it, I set my mind to it, I go after it. But Waffle House wasn't so great in that they don't always understand people with disabilities and things like that. And so at the time, I was supposed to be trained to be like the fry cook and everything in the back and cooking and everything, but they said, okay, well, we're just gonna have you clean tables as guests come in. And for 8 hours a day, I pretty much sat down, cleaned tables, and I was like, okay, well, when am I gonna get training? And they never gave me a response or anything. Eventually, I left Waffle House. There were a few incidents there, but even with that, I still was proactive and got myself an internship at the mayor's office in Tallahassee.
Right, which was a lot better than Waffle House.
Much better, yes.
But the problem there is that there will always be organizations that just aren't trained or aren't empathic. they just don't know better for whatever reason. And so that's one of the reasons why I try to talk to corporate America as much as I can and help to advocate. But as parents and as teachers, when you have opportunities, if companies call you in, use your expertise to help advocate as much as possible, because everything is just about education, and the world won't grow and open up to persons with disabilities as fast as we would like if we don't continue to keep pushing the agenda and advocating as much as possible. Andrew, are you a Braille reader? What technology do you use? How do you approach your employer about your visual impairment and your accessibility needs?
Okay, so as far as Braille goes, I started a little bit back at Florida School for the Deaf and Blind, but didn't really continue much beyond the basics, and I don't really use Braille too much. As far as technology, for me, it really is, I guess, with my phone, and I just, zoom in. I take pictures of things a lot, even things I can't read. Like if it was this screen right here at work, say I'm chatting with a customer, basically, I'll have my phone. If I can't read it, I'll take a picture, zoom in, and I'm like, okay, cool, I can read that, and then I would type back in the chat. What was the other question? How do you approach my employer? And I know everybody's different with this. For me, I would just learn, first thing, mom always just recommended, as well as some of my other advisors and stuff, put like the Florida School for the Deaf and Blind on my resume, because that kind of makes it obvious, like, okay, well, not just anyone goes to the Florida School for the Deaf and Blind. So it starts with there. But then with the employment and everything, I just discuss, just say and let them know, give them a heads up. Hey, I am visually impaired. I don't think it's going to impact my ability to work or anything, but I just want to let you know I may need to have a discussion just based on if I need anything as far as accessibility, things like that. Luckily, with my boss where I'm working now, I'm working for Blackboard. He's really cool and he's very understanding.
Right, and because you have medical conditions as well. So
mm-hmm.
as well. So.
Yes. So. Yep. Did I miss anything? I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. We're both kind of leaning in. Don't see any other questions. If there are any more, again, we still have another 5 minutes to share. So
I just wanted to ask a question, Vera. This is Olaya.
Yeah. Yes.
And, Andrew, you just mentioned about, talking about how you let your employers know about your visual impairment, and that it shouldn't affect your ability to work and all those things. And you're just going to need some, accessibility or accommodations. How, have you ever run into a situation where the employer's like, "Ooh, I don't think we can work with you," or, "I don't think we have, the ability to help you." And then if that happened, like, how well versed are you in, like, the Americans with Disabilities Act and those types of things? Because, you shouldn't be facing discrimination based on your visual impairment. And so it's like, I'm just really interested in that, because you're a young man, you're getting out there, you're starting to work. And so this is, that's something that you're going to run into. Hopefully not, but it's better to be prepared, right? Just in case.
Right, absolutely.
So, I was just curious about that.
So the only real time I ran into it was once again with Waffle House. And I think, I don't want to say it was anything as far as discrimination. I don't know. I don't want to even say that they really tried. Like, I don't know if they could understand what my disabilities were. That I think they thought, okay, well, he's visually impaired. We want him to cook, but we don't want to start him yet. We want to just see how he does. But that delegated me to just not doing anything besides wiping down the tables. And then when I did have an issue, I had an issue with one of the, and this didn't really have too much to do with the disabilities. They wanted me to go to the other side of town, which was like an hour away. And I discussed, well, I didn't really have any transportation. I can't go over to that side of town. But luckily for me, at that time, I was already looking for something else because I didn't want to work at Waffle House anyway. So I can't say for sure if like I haven't really had a situation where they wouldn't assist me in as far as my disabilities, even with at work here when I had to tell my boss, hey, I do have medical conditions, that sometimes I have to get water or take my medicine and stuff. And he was like, okay, well, that's absolutely fine. Well, but he did need like a doctor's note, so that we could work that out and everything. But for me, it really is just advocate. And the other thing is just, you have to know your worth. And that's the biggest thing. For a long time, I didn't know mine. But for me, now I know, okay, this is what I want. This is what I need. And hopefully we can come to an agreement. But if not, I know that there are other places that will also be hiring. And hopefully you just get an employer that is, empathetic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. You know your worth. You know your worth. And that's extremely important, because then that right there is going to emanate that you have confidence in your abilities, and you're going to advocate for yourself, which that's a common theme that's coming through this. But I was wondering too, if your rehab counselor at the state level might, if you ever ran into a situation like Waffle House, right? Again, which hopefully you won't, but if you did, and maybe like you said, it's not that they didn't want to employ you or help you. They didn't know, I always go back to, sometimes they don't know what to ask because they don't know what they don't know. And
Right.
so maybe involving your rehab counselor and be like, okay, what are the things that your job would entail, and then helping you know what to tell your employers. Like, these are the things that can help me get to where I want to get to in your organization. In that way, it's not only educating you, but it's also educating them, right? The more that we educate more people, the better it'll get. So, I mean, I was just thinking, rehab counselors can play such a big part of your success in life, for sure. So always think of that if you ever run into a situation like that as well. But you're strong, and because you got your mama's will, and
crazy mom.
That's okay. Moms are crazy, but we're all crazy for good reasons. So we love our kids. So yeah, that I wanted to, kind of get your experience and your feeling on those types of issues that you've run across already, and that you may run across, and just knowing about your rights as a person with a disability is extremely
good information.
Important. Extremely
Definitely
important.
good information.
Right. And then always, go back to your rehab counselor. That's what they're there for. I think that's important advice for families. And, Vera, you've been through it. You worked with the rehab counselors, and having them extremely involved, I think, in the planning and the IEPs and all of so that what he's doing what any of your children are doing outside of school is something that's being supported inside of school as well, right? So nobody's undoing anybody else's, training and plans and stuff. So, but it sounds like you had a really good transition team, and you're young, you're still growing, but you're definitely going in the right direction. At least I think, Mama. What do you think, Mama?
And then the one last thing that I also would say, from a parent perspective, is we wear our children's pain, and sometimes we wear our children's pain so much it just is normal for us, right? We think that's normal. It's just normal to just be like this all the time, and that's not normal. And so Andrew said something that was really important about counseling. So consider it. If you're feeling like the stress is too much, especially in the midst of COVID, and trying to wear so much, and the worry, even though you say I'm not going to worry, but it gets to you, and I definitely can relate to that. I went for so long and always was just concerned about counseling for Drew. What do we need? What does he need? What do you need? But parents out there, please take care of yourself, because they're only going to be as good as you can coach them to be, right? And so you've got to be at your best as well. So your mental health is extremely important. Finding support groups. There's a group online that Andrew and I both, Andrew probably uses it more now, excuse me. But it's the craniopharyngioma group. We really went niche, however you say that word, in terms of, there's a group that's just for people who has his brain tumor, his issues with sight, etc. And it's been extremely helpful for him. And I pop on every once in a while and I hear a lot from mothers. And sometimes remember what I said about cheer for others. Sometimes when I'm on there and I could even say, hey, yeah, my son had this problem too. Think about going and getting this when you talk to your doctor or whatever. Like it makes me feel better. Like like, oh, okay, everybody's kind of going through this. We're in this together. So find a good group or a counselor.
Yeah, I definitely agree with all those points. Even with the craniopharyngioma group, we celebrate cranioversaries. I see that a lot. So every year that you have after your brain tumor, we take pictures and stuff, and we celebrate and say, hey, we're doing well, and we give each other updates and stuff. So it's great finding a support group and let me know, hey, there are other, because for the longest time I didn't think there was anyone else who was, I won't say anyone else, but I'm like, I didn't know anyone else who was like me, as far as with brain tumor, and the medical conditions. That was more the biggest thing. I know that there was other visually impaired people. But then by being in that group, it let me know, I'm like, I see the success of other people and things like that and their tips and things to do. I'm like, okay, that's cool. And then so you get to know people that way.
Right. So, yep, groups. We need each other.
Yeah.
Group hug.
That's right.
We all need each other.
That is right. Yeah, that is extremely, I mean, all of your advice is just like gold, little gold nuggets. That too, right there, just the support system, being a part of those groups that, like Andrew, you said, you didn't know anyone, you kind of felt like that you didn't, maybe you're like the only one. And that's a very lonely feeling. If you don't feel like you can, find commonality in with others. And so that's a really big piece of important information and a suggestion, Vera, and Andrew, find a group. There's plenty on Facebook. There's ways to find that. And on Family Connect, we highlight different groups, and this group that you belong to may be something that we can highlight on Family Connect as well, and get that information out there for other families who may not be on Facebook, who may not know that exists. So I really think this has been a wonderful webinar. It's so inspiring, and it's just joyous. And from all the comments and things I'm sure you've been seeing in the chat, I'm not the only one who feels that way.
Thank you for having us.
Oh gosh, no, thank you so much for joining us and being a part of Family Connect, and being a part of different of the journeys of a lot of families who have watched this and who are gonna watch it, because it'll be recorded and posted on our Family Connect website and our APH YouTube channel as well. So this is going to help many people far and wide, and we really appreciate your time and your just sharing of your experiences. And you too, Andrew, I'm proud of you. Your mom's proud of you. You should be proud of yourself too.
Thank you.
You really are an inspiration to other kids and other parents. And so this was really important. Thank you so much for joining us. And everybody, all the attendees, just know the webinar is over, but we have in the chat how you can get to our recorded webinars and back to our to Vera's information and her book, and an excerpt on Family Connect. So and also, I think, Vera, did you say if people go to your website to get your book, you can actually sign it,
autograph
personalize it? There you go.
So, just tell me who you would like it autographed to. You can also, it's available on Amazon, but I prefer you get it from me. I can add the personal touch. So I hope that it inspires everyone out there. And thank you for the opportunity to be a part of APH Family Connect. Thanks everybody for watching today.
Yes, thank you all so much. Vera, we'll hang on for just a second and just close out. And let's see. Okay, yep, we put in our chat for Vera's works. We got that there. Just a second. It'll take me a minute to make sure people are